All right. Yes, now it's been announced, but it hasn't happened yet, that the Commerce Commission will lay criminal charges against Woolworths New Zealand and against two PAK'nSAVE stores, as I understand, in Auckland, PAK'nSAVE Silverdale, PAK'nSAVE Mill Street, as a result of essentially ripping off consumers by suggesting that the prices that were on the shelves for particular products were not the prices that they were charged as they left, and that this has been an ongoing issue for years, not months. And as a result of that, finally the Commerce Commission has lost patience, although God knows what it's taken them. The Prime Minister yesterday, Christopher Luxon, said that this kind of crackdown was welcome. He said we're expecting the Commerce Commission to do their job, and that was a backhand, I have to say it rightly, at the Commerce Commission for not doing it prior. And it's great to see they've taken action this morning. I think the only word there was finally taken action this morning. And it's understood that some of these charges will be filed before Christmas. Woolworths New Zealand's defence has been, we've been working with the Commerce Commission for a while and sometimes errors occur. But one group that's been very banging on the fact that it's time for the Commerce Commission to do something, it's time for the government to get involved, it's time that consumers weren't extorted by a profligate and very profitable grocery sector as being Consumer New Zealand. And the Chief Executive, Jon Duffy, joins us now. Jon, thanks for making some time available today. Much appreciated.
No problem at all.
Listen, you'll be thrilled, I guess, that this is finally going to happen after, years of banging this drum?
Yeah, I mean, it's the next step in quite a long process, so we've still got to get through the court process and, the evidence has to be tested, and if the entities that have been charged or will be charged are found guilty, then we need to get an appropriate penalty out of the courts. And so all of those different stages have their prickles, and we'll take each step as it comes.
The Commerce Commission. I was interested in the announcement, though, because the it seemed to be almost a political announcement than a Commerce Commission announcement, because the Commerce Commission haven't filed the charges yet. As you've just mentioned, they'll do it shortly. I don't expect, they said, before Christmas. Is there a renewed sense of urgency, do you think, in the current government to do something?
We are getting really strong signals out of the government around competition. So they are supportive of, measures in the banking sector to increase competition. So they're talking about, getting some capitalisation into Kiwibank so it can compete. They've been very vocal about the issues we're seeing in the energy sector, a lot of which stem from a lack of competition. And similarly in the supermarket sector, the Finance Minister and the Prime Minister and the Minister of Consumer Affairs have been very supportive of the Commerce Commission taking strong action against the duopoly where it's alleged to be ripping off consumers. So these are good, positive things from the government.
You've been also, as a reader of your monthly magazines, you've been on very strong this idea that the grocery sector can't be trusted to police themselves, otherwise these sorts of events would be happening. The Commerce Commission have obviously come to that view too. How do you take the view, or the defence yesterday of Woolworths, we're reviewing the legal finding, but sometimes errors occur. Does that wash with you?
I mean, that's been the line from both foodstuffs or group foodstuffs together, even though they're two entities, and Woolworths, or both the supermarkets, for a number of years. And you have to get to a point where you go, come on. The frequency of these mistakes occurring, if you're charitable enough to call them mistakes, it is so high that it actually goes beyond the odd error, and you have to say these are systemic problems within the processes that the supermarket's operating. So if they can't get what is an absolute, fundamental of running a retail store, which is making sure your price on the shelf matches the price you're charging consumers at the till. If they can't get that right, how can we trust them with other more sensitive things like, things that we've spoken about before, like running facial recognition technology or collecting and safely storing people's data through their massive loyalty schemes. These are things that concern me, because you're either doing it on purpose or you're willfully ignoring the fact that it's a problem, or you're inept. So either way, it's concerning for New Zealand consumers.
Listen, the other thing just on that issue though, I was just thinking the trust factor is, I must admit, very high in New Zealanders. So you go to the supermarket, they always ask you, do you want your receipt? And the intent is, well, if I'm giving it to you, really, it would be an awful waste of me printing out this piece of paper for you, and it would just add to the rubbish collection. And so a lot of New Zealanders say, no, I'll be fine, thanks. Is it still your advice to actually get that receipt and check your groceries when you get home?
Yes, it is, for the very reason that you can't trust that what you've been charged is accurate. Otherwise, the Commerce Commission wouldn't be laying these charges, and we wouldn't be dealing with enormous volumes of complaints from people saying that they've been misled as to price at the till. So, unfortunately, we're still in a situation where the supermarkets haven't responded to the clear warnings, effectively, from the Commerce Commission. The pricing inaccuracies and misleading promotional practices. So we can talk about that in a second, but that's a separate aspect of what's going on here. These featured prominently through the market study that's, now almost 3 years old. PAK'nSAVE Mangere was prosecuted several years ago for this exact thing. This, the fact that you're breaking the law if you misrepresent price is not new to this industry. They know it is an issue, but have not moved to address the issue as these charges or imminent charges demonstrate.
Is the problem systemic in the sense of, I know Woolworths New Zealand's getting prosecuted. It's 2 individual PAK'nSAVE stores. Is there a view that it's interesting? PAK'nSAVE is part of foodstuffs, isn't it? New World and PAK'nSAVE
That's right.
Foodstuffs. And Woolworths so it's those 2 individual stores out of that lot, but it's the entire Woolworths group on the other side. Does that suggest that the Commerce Commission believe that in one particular, with Woolworths in particular, it's a nationwide issue as distinct from a store-wide issue?
I think it's purely in relation to the legal structure of the 2 separate entities. So Foodstuffs is a cooperative, so each PAK'nSAVE store within the cooperative is its own legal entity, and therefore that's what's being charged. The Commission's media release also flags that there's more to come. They're still investigating, and based on the hundreds of complaints that we forwarded to the Commission as part of our work lodging this complaint, there are many more foodstuffs supermarkets that featured within those complaints. So it looks like all of Woolworths, as the legal entity Woolworths, has been charged. So head office will be charged. I would be very surprised if more foodstuffs supermarkets aren't added to the list as the Commission wraps up its ongoing investigations.
And finally, can you take some, do you think, reflected pride in this result? The Consumers Institute, or as it is now known as Consumer New Zealand, has played a prominent role in ensuring that A, a government department does its job, and B, that the consumer might actually be protected as we go forward.
Well, what I'm pleased with is that we've done what we say in our mission statement, which is to give voice to the concerns of New Zealand consumers. So we've collated a large amount of information together, such an extensive amount of information suggesting that there's systemic issues that as the regulator, the Commerce Commission couldn't ignore it because the volumes were so high. And my thanks go out to, the public of New Zealand who, have gone to some trouble to provide us that evidence, right? It's a real faff. If you're at the supermarket, you've got to then go home, check your till receipt, try and remember back what the price representation on the shelf was when you might have 50 items in your trolley. Can you remember every single price?
Yeah, that's right.
Go back and check that again. Drive back to the supermarket. It's a faff, right? And people have been that concerned about this activity that they've gone to those lengths. And so, my thanks goes out to the New Zealand public.
Good on you, and well done you too, can I say, John, and Consumer New Zealand. Great work. That is Jon Duffy from Chief Executive of Consumer New Zealand. And as you would have heard there, more prosecutions potentially on the way. It's about bloody time. And the Commerce Commission, listen, they appointed a grocery commissioner. Remember that, Josh? The last Labor government did. Oh, why? Yep. All it needed to do was the Commerce Commission needed to do their job. But instead, the last government, we'll just go and create another bureaucrat and another series of bureaucracy, and we still don't do it. Can I just say, to the last government, another black mark. New government, new priority, new action. Old government, no action.